So this is your first time using Mortafil. I want to be able to show you some tips and tricks, how to use the product, and a typical example of where to use the product. So I'm going to go and run through some basics. First, it's best to grab your tube and give it a good tap on something solid so that the product won't flow out of the tube when you're opening it. Grab your Stanley knife, nice sharp blade, and then open the tube. Then grab your nozzle. It's recommended to cut your nozzle at least an inch down on a 45-degree angle. So cut that. Put your nozzle on top of your tube. Grab your corking gun. Set it into your corking gun. Gently pull the trigger until you see the product coming out the top. Don't over pump, you don't want it flowing out. Once you've done that, I recommend to grab a spare nozzle and put that over the top before you're ready to start your job. A couple of basic tools that you will need to start your job is recommended to always keep a little bucket of water, a small paintbrush, a cloth in case you make any mess. I'm going to show you a typical example here. We have a gap that you might find around your house where you might have some petrified mortar that's all crumbled away, or you might just have a gap that wasn't filled by the brickies to start with. So it's best to grab your tube, point your tube, your nozzle, into the gap where you need it to be filled. Gently pull the trigger and start applying the Mortafil into the gap. Now this gap is a little bit larger, which is a good example because this one here will need to fill twice. So gently moving your gun along. As you can see here, it's a little bit larger, so we'll slowly add a little bit more just to build up a bedding at the back so we have a good foundation for our second coat. As I said earlier, it's best to put a nozzle over the top of your other nozzle just to stop the product flowing out. So now that you've applied your first coat of Mortafil to the gap, it's good to grab your finger, or you can use a paintbrush. To start with this, I would like to use my finger and just gently push the Mortafil into the gap. Don't scrape too much out, just gently feed it into the gap. I'm applying absolutely no pressure, just using my finger to do the job. At the end here, where it was a bit larger, I'll just gently push it back so I have a nice bed for the next coat. Clean your finger with your rag, so you're always keeping a clean area. Basically now, you're ready to leave that to dry for 1 hour, and then you can apply your second coat, which will then be your finished coat. It's recommended to do this in stages so that it's not going to sag, sink, or fall out of the brick. It generally won't. Depending on the size of the gap, it's best to do it in 2, sometimes 3 stages. If you have a smaller gap, you can do it in 1 coat. It's very easy. Just don't scrape too much out.